Okay, so imagine um, you're going to the symphony, but you're not going for entertainment. You're going because it's an act of defiance.
Yeah.
Like it's a way to stare down the enemy that has your city surrounded, starved, and bombarded.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
what happened in Leningrad in World War II.
Yeah, it's a remarkable story of the human spirit, We're going to kind of peel back the layers of this brutal siege that lasted almost 900 days and see how the citizens of Leningrad not only survived, but resisted.
Yeah, and we'll start with Maria. She was a school teacher in Leningrad.
Okay.
Can you imagine, like, trying to evacuate children while bombs are falling around you?
Oh, wow.
Just desperately trying to, keep them safe from all the chaos and the terror.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just one of many stories that we're going to explore to bring this historical event to life.
Yeah, and her story and so many others like it, they highlight the individual experiences within this larger historical event. It's like a reminder that these grand narratives of war are actually made up of millions of personal journeys that are filled with unimaginable courage and resilience.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so to understand the full weight of what those individuals went through, let's set the stage.
Yeah,
We're talking about 1941. Nazi Germany's invaded the Soviet Union.
right.
And Leningrad, this major city, cultural hub, the birthplace of Bolshevism,
Right.
it becomes one of Hitler's prime targets.
And this wasn't just like a strategic target, it was deeply symbolic for Hitler. He wanted to wipe Leningrad off the map, literally and figuratively. He saw it as an embodiment of everything he opposed, and crushing it was central to his plan to, break the Soviet Union.
Right, right. And so the siege begins in September 1941,
Mm-hmm.
and it's relentless. For almost 900 days, the citizens of Leningrad endure this constant bombardment, dwindling supplies, just unimaginable suffering.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the feeling of being trapped, surrounded by an enemy that wants to starve you into submission?
Yeah, I mean, the scale of it is almost incomprehensible,
Right.
Nearly 3 million people were trapped inside the city, and they faced starvation, disease, and constant artillery fire.
And over 1 million civilians are estimated to have died during the siege.
Right.
Now, in the midst of all of this, something pretty incredible happens. Dmitri Shostakovich, a composer, begins working on his Seventh Symphony while still in Leningrad during those early months of the siege.
Wow.
And it would become known as the Leningrad Symphony.
It's a fascinating story, really. The sheet music was flown out of the city, and the symphony premiered in Kuibyshev. But the Soviets understood the power of this music. They knew they had to bring it back to Leningrad, back to the people trapped within its walls.
So picture this. It's August of 1942. The siege is in full force.
Mm-hmm.
And the orchestra, it's made up of musicians who are suffering themselves. Many of them are weakened by malnutrition,
Wow.
but they're determined to play this.
Right.
The concert hall is packed. Loudspeakers are broadcasting the music throughout the city.
Wow.
And the sound even reaches the German lines.
I mean, the performance itself was almost a miracle. A lot of the musicians could barely stand. Some of them even died during rehearsals.
Really?
Yeah, it was a testament to their will, their determination to show the world and themselves that the spirit of Leningrad would not be broken.
This wasn't just a concert.
Right.
It was an act of defiance, a message of hope that was delivered through the power of music.
Absolutely. And the symphony itself, the music, it's incredibly powerful. It captures the terror, the resistance, the brutality of the siege, but also the enduring hope for victory. You can hear the struggle, the resilience, just the spirit of Leningrad woven into every single note.
Yeah, I'm struck by the idea of hearing this music while trapped in that city. This symphony must have been more than just music.
Absolutely.
What do you think it meant to the people of Leningrad?
I think it was a lifeline, a connection to something larger than themselves, like a reminder that they were not forgotten. Imagine being surrounded by death and destruction, and then you hear this music, this powerful testament to the human spirit rising above the horrors of war.
Yeah, absolutely. It transcended entertainment. It
Absolutely.
became a symbol of hope, of resilience, of just the shared human experience in the face of unimaginable suffering.
Yes, yeah. So, while those soaring notes of defiance were kind of echoing through the city, daily life in Leningrad was a constant struggle just to survive.
Yeah. One of those harrowing aspects of this story is got to be the road of life.
Hmm.
It was a desperate lifeline across Lake Ladoga
Right.
during those brutal Russian winters, when the lake froze over
Yeah.
this ice road. It became the only way to get supplies in and people out of the besieged city.
It was incredibly dangerous. You can imagine trucks and cars often overloaded with, people and supplies trying to navigate this treacherous ice road. All the while, they're being constantly targeted by German air attacks and artillery fire.
Yeah, and even with the road of life, food and medicine were really scarce. People were starving, they're freezing, there's coming to disease. It's difficult to really even grasp the level of suffering they endured.
Yeah, and beyond just the physical hardship, I think it's important to consider the psychological toll that this prolonged siege had.
Yeah.
Just the constant fear, the uncertainty, the loss of loved ones, just the daily struggle just to stay alive.
Yeah.
It all had a profound impact on the human psyche.
It's amazing that anyone could even hold on to hope in those conditions.
Mm.
But the people of Leningrad, they did more than just endure.
You're right.
They resisted.
Oh, absolutely. There were acts of resistance, both large and small, throughout the siege. Armed resistance fighters, they engaged in sabotage, guerrilla warfare, while just ordinary citizens, they took extraordinary measures to protect their cultural treasures.
Yeah.
Even just keeping a diary or attending a concert became a way to, kind of affirm their humanity, their refusal to be broken by the Nazi regime.
Yeah, that's powerful. Okay, so let's turn our attention to a key turning point in the siege.
Yeah.
The Battle of Krasny Bor in early 1943.
Right.
This is where the strategic reality of the situation really kind of comes into focus.
Yeah, this battle was critical for a couple of reasons. First, the Soviets were desperately trying to widen the corridor they had established to Leningrad via the Road of Life. They needed to increase the flow of supplies to the city. And second, it was a crucial test of strength for the Red Army, a chance to, show that they could push back against the Germans and eventually break the siege.
It was no easy victory, though. This battle was incredibly fierce, with massive casualties on both sides. And the Soviet commander, General Spiridov, he employed some truly harsh tactics.
Right.
He was really driven by a desperate need to just break through.
Spiridov, he was a complex figure. He was known for his ruthlessness, his willingness to sacrifice his own men, to achieve victory. And in this battle, his orders, they resulted in heavy losses for the Soviets, but he was ultimately successful in pushing back the German forces.
One specific detail that really stood out to me was Spiridov's decision to shell a hospital.
Wow.
And this wasn't just any hospital. It was treating both Spanish volunteers fighting alongside the Germans and Soviet soldiers. It was a truly difficult decision with devastating consequences.
Yeah, it raises some complex questions about the nature of war. What is acceptable when you're fighting for survival? Where do we draw the line? And, Spiridov's actions, while undeniably harsh, they highlight the brutal realities of war and the difficult choices that military leaders sometimes have to make.
Yeah. In the end, the Soviets did win the Battle of Krasny Bor, but it was at a tremendous cost. It helped to expand that vital corridor to Leningrad, but the siege continued for another agonizing year.
Yeah, and what's significant about Krasny Bor is that it demonstrated the just unwavering determination of the Red Army, you know, and it really foreshadowed the kind of relentless, no-holds-barred fighting that would eventually lead to the liberation of Leningrad and ultimately the defeat of Nazi Germany.
It's hard to imagine what it must have been like for those trapped inside Leningrad when the siege was finally lifted.
Yeah.
What emotions do you think were at the forefront? Like relief, grief, maybe even disbelief?
All of those things, absolutely. It was a moment of profound joy and liberation, but also one that was, shadowed by immense loss. The city was in ruins, countless lives had been lost.
Right.
And the scars of that experience, they would linger for generations.
We've talked about the military strategies, the battles, the political, machinations.
Right.
But what really stays with me are those human stories. Those acts of courage, both grand and small, the sacrifices that were made, just the sheer resilience of the human spirit.
Right.
Those are the things that connect us to this event in such a powerful way.
Leningrad stands as a testament to what humans can endure. It's a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable suffering, the human spirit can find ways to resist, to create, to connect, and ultimately to survive.
Yeah, but it's also a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of war.
Mm.
Right? I mean, the Siege of Leningrad, it left an indelible mark, not just on the city's landscape, but on the psyches of its people.
Exactly. The trauma of that experience, the memories of starvation, the loss of loved ones, the constant fear. I mean, these things shaped an entire generation, and it really underscores the importance of understanding the human cost of war, not just in terms of physical destruction, but in the enduring psychological and emotional wounds that it inflicts.
So as we step back from this deep dive into the Siege of Leningrad,
Yeah.
what can we take away from it? What insights can we carry with us?
I think for me, it's a reminder that history is not just dates and battles, It's about people. It's about understanding the human experience in all its complexity. It's about recognizing our shared humanity, our capacity for both, great resilience and terrible destruction.
The story of Leningrad is a potent reminder of the importance of empathy, of
Oh.
understanding the experiences of others,
Hmm.
and of working to prevent such atrocities from ever happening again.
And, as we conclude this exploration, I would encourage you to delve deeper into the individual stories of those who lived through the siege. Read their diaries, listen to their testimonies, explore the online archives. Those voices will give you a more profound understanding of this pivotal event and its enduring impact.
Because in the end, it's those personal stories,
Yeah.
those glimpses into the human heart, that truly bring history to life and allow us to learn from the past.
Yeah.
The Siege of Leningrad might be over,
Mhm.
but the echoes of its lessons, they resonate still. They urge us to choose empathy, understanding, and above all, peace.